Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about the struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. And welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. So I am super excited to introduce our guest today. I've known her for now a couple of years. I've been working with her as a coach and as a colleague, and it has been just fantastic to be able to get to know Stephanie, and I'm super excited to bring her to all of you today. So welcome, Stephanie Donahue.
Kristina, thank you for having me here.
Thanks, and thanks for coming. I super appreciate you just coming to share your gifts. So just to introduce her a bit, Stephanie is a CEO growth partner, high performance coach, and business strategist who helps faith-driven entrepreneurs and CEOs build profitable, scalable businesses through smart, ethical marketing and high performance leadership. So many things that you do, Stephanie, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. It's very fulfilling for sure.
Awesome. So welcome. So I am going to have you introduce yourself a little bit. Like tell us just about, your life, where you live, that kind of thing. And then we'll jump into what you do.
Okay, great. My name is Stephanie Donahue, and I am a wife and mother primarily. And my work involves helping CEOs, people that are doing big things and making waves in the world, and supporting them to make that happen, and also to protect their personal life so that they can be their best selves, be healthy, feel great, and definitely prioritize what's important to them. And primarily in their personal life and carry that into their work life. And I find that just works so much better than going the other way.
Absolutely. That so links with what I do. Like my hope is that I want to build wildly and help people become wildly successful, but still have those important things at home. And it's just so key. I know I learned it the hard way. What's your motivation? Why is that such an important part of your business?
I've thought a lot about my purpose in life, and I've seen it from a very spiritual lens, but I've also seen it as more that God's asking me to do this and to meet people in the workplace and meet them where they're at. And so that's been pretty powerful. Through that journey, I've also ended up moving to Southwest Florida, specifically in a little town called Ave Maria. And that's part of this journey, is to be around there's a lot of entrepreneurs here,
Mm-hmm.
and to be around like-minded people who are also making waves.
Absolutely. That's so cool. It's so beautiful that you've taken a hold of where the Lord has guided you, even though it may seem crazy to some. It may seem like not the right way, but it's just following him, and it brings happiness, joy, and success, and struggles, mind you, too, but still all those beautiful things.
Definitely.
Yes. So awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because you didn't start as a high performance coach. So tell us about your journey of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I've always been interested in helping people. Like when I was young, I really enjoyed like helping old people walk across the street, like things like that. So I went into nursing as a result of that, and I really enjoyed helping people like with their health to nurse them to get better. And so I was a nurse for 10 years. And then from there, I had the opportunity to be home. And so I took it. And so I had more children in that time. And then from there, I felt like this yearning for something to use my talents and strengths in the marketplace. So from there, I ended up starting a online blog, and I wanted to do it professionally to make an income while also making an impact. And so that is really what brought me into this world of personal development,
Mm-hmm.
and also marketing and just online business in general. And then from there, I've helped other people who don't do online business, but it's just brought me into that world through blogging.
Yeah.
And so from there, I realized, okay, it was time to let the blog go after a certain point, because I learned that apparently my tenacity with helping people to get things done and move forward is exactly what they need. And that's a superpower of mine. So I went that direction and started helping people in the back end of their businesses as their right hand in positions like director of operations, online business manager, and then eventually got into consulting. which eventually got me into being a certified high performance coach. Because when you work with people as their growth partner, you end up coaching them as well. We're so intertwined with our personal and business life.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to get the official certification and really the know-how to do that at the best level. And so that's where I sit right now, and I absolutely love it.
So awesome. It fits so perfectly with your geniuses too, because that ability to like push people to close things out because that's your passion, but also that love for helping others. So if you don't mind sharing, Stephanie, your geniuses.
Of course, go ahead.
Stephanie's enablement and tenacity, and she is like such a beautiful example of it because everything she does is always to help people first and then to help them finish it and just sharing that gift. And that's what we're called to do. That's that beauty of the geniuses. It's not things that we're just good at, it's things that we're naturally gifted and wired to do. And Stephanie has leaned into that wholeheartedly, really through your whole career.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, totally. All right. So I want to focus today on your high performance coaching work because as leaders, and I have a lot of leaders and business owners who listen, and like as leaders, we're typically the high performers. We're those we want to achieve. And you've just got this special niche to be able to help coach them through that, help coach them through all of these strengths and these things they're pushing for, but also balancing that lack of burnout. So I just really want to focus there. When you're looking with your clients, what are some things that what are some issues or problems that they may be facing that they typically come to you for?
Mhm. So people often I hear the word drowning. I'm drowning. It's super common. And so that's the thing is when somebody feels like they're drowning or feels overwhelmed, there's a desire to do a lot of things at once,
Mhm.
and they wanna do it, like, yesterday. So because they're high achievers, and so they want to achieve. It's like, achieved, next, and it just keeps going. So they may be missing, like, the pause of the celebration, the white space in their day, the reflection on what truly matters, and the clarity to and the discernment to understand what is important right now.
Mhm.
What is that I like the term of the big domino from The One Thing. What is the big domino that's gonna make everything else easier or unnecessary?
Yes.
And so being able to communicate a lot of clarity happens through communication. Through coaching, it's just that just seems to be such a obvious thing that happens, and being able to communicate to somebody, like, what is important to me? What are my priorities? What are my core values? You find that it starts to shed the layers so that you can really find what is truly important. And that can naturally shed the drowning experience when you can focus on a few key things
Yes.
and let go of the others.
Yeah, and it can be such a challenge because it feels like everything's important, especially when you're drowning. And it's just like this.
Yeah.
So how do you help them gain some of that clarity?
Yeah, there's pillars of high performance. So there's several tracks. There's the core sessions, which those are the pillars, and we go through the clarity and courage, what's important to you, productivity and influence. So we go through these dedicated sessions, and through that, walking with them through that, they find that
Hmm.
clarity, and it's just amazing what like experiences can be had through actually focusing on these pillars of high
Hmm.
performance.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I had the benefit to do high performance coaching with Stephanie. So it was amazing to be able to like things you think you know the answer to in your mind, but because you've never put it into words before. And now you're like, what do I really want? Or what's really important? I think one of my favorite sessions was when we had to come up with some of the words that were like kind of how we felt. And I was like, what are some of those words? So it was just very very powerful to force someone to stop, like to force yourself to stop and to think through some of that. And then through your guidance to be able to hone in on what it is that I want or what it is that is important. So do you find that's typical where people are struggling to actually come up with like what is important? What do I want in life? Do you find that common?
Yes, it's actually very common.
Yes, I see it in my work as well, because people are sometimes striving, and so Stephanie has recently launched a podcast as well, so we will have that linked in the show notes. But the title is what again? It's
Yeah, commit to
high performance growth. So very powerful. And one of your more recent episodes was on defining success, and I thought that was such a wonderful episode because it spoke to my experience, but it also spoke to a lot of what I see with high achievers, because as a high achiever, there's sometimes this pull to want to do what the world wants us to do. So can you tell us a little bit about that defining success?
Yeah, it's so powerful, and that's the thing. It's a question I asked towards the beginning of our sessions together, and then I find that the average person struggles to articulate it into a sentence or two. And it's something that through the journey of discovering more about themselves, that that definition becomes articulated and very clear, to the point by the 12th coaching session, they actually feel very invigorated about their definition of success. And so to the point where when they hear somebody say success, because we hear that word used all the time, and it means really something different to everybody. And so when you hear that word success going forward, you can say, oh, well, that's not my definition. That's their definition. And you can have that awareness and the peace, and you're not so much into the fear of missing out mode,
Mhm.
or I need to buy every program kind of mode, because you really know what you need, where you're going, and it can provide so much just peace in your life.
Yeah, totally. So if someone is kind of like, maybe they're listening to this and they're saying, what does success mean? Because is it $1 million? Is it, achieving this title role? Like I know I was on this leadership program back when I first started in manufacturing, and they used to have us try to define out like what role do you want to be, and everyone's like, oh, I want to be president of this and vice president of this, and so we're all just naming these roles. So how do you help somebody go from just naming a role because they're supposed to really understanding what it is that they're called to do? What's that
Mhm.
process look like?
Yeah, so the process really is going through the high performance sessions, through the certification, is designed to take somebody through the process. So literally just going through the coaching process, really. And it's a natural progression that they come to this understanding themselves. I don't tell them what their definition is, or they've got to feel it. And it's going to change based on what your circumstances are, where you want to go in your season in life. And that's the thing, is your definition may change at any given time.
Hmm. Have you found that anybody's made like a big, like a 180 where they've totally changed directions of what success looks like?
Yes.
How did that go? How did that go?
Exactly. Okay. So far, I've worked with entrepreneurs and CEOs primarily, and also like people who work in corporate who are professionals. And so that's generally who I work with so far. And so going in, their definition generally is around a financial number.
Hmm. Hmm.
In the very beginning, the first time we discuss this. And then by the end, depending on what they're working towards, it generally does not involve a financial number.
Yeah. Because money doesn't motivate.
Well, not most people. Well, some people maybe.
Yeah. I usually say that money matters to the point that you can cover your basics. Like if you're still worried about feeding your family, paying your bills, and making
Mhm.
your mortgage payment, that kind of stuff. If you're still worried about that, then money very much matters and you will be driven.
Mhm.
But once you hit those, it's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you meet those basic needs, now other things actually become the priority, wherein it is more. So what sorts of things will people typically find is their definition of success?
Well, because of the people I work with, it's generally been around impact.
Yeah, the impact they'll make on others. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because we don't start businesses to make money necessarily. We usually start it because there's a call, or we get into a role because
Mhm.
there's a need for this in the world, sort of feeling. And yeah, but yet we still struggle to identify what that success is for us personally sometimes. Yeah,
Definitely.
so super interesting. So let's say someone's listening right now and they're like, oh, that sounds good, but man, that's scary to dig into that level. What would you say to them if they're just a little bit nervous to start jumping into this level of work?
Well, I can tell you I've seen it all. With my original career as a registered nurse, I supported people in their darkest hours. I was the nurse that took care of the people that were suicidal, just everything, who had open wounds of all kinds. And so I really have seen it all. And also as a nurse, I had to keep everything confidential, which was hard when you knew somebody that you were taking care of and you couldn't even tell their family that you took care of them, or that they were even in the hospital. So I've experienced a lot of heaviness over those 10 years of carrying people's pain, and I'm a very empathetic
Mm-hmm.
person. And so that's the thing, is through working with me, people do feel that they can share pretty much anything, and I'm not going to judge them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so amazing to have that level of trust like almost automatically built because of your gifting and your wonderful like ability to just kind of see people for who they are and where they are and really like their depth of being, and that's wonderful. So what would be something that you would tell someone that maybe they want to take a first step? Like how would they start looking into high performance coaching?
Well, I have a solution for that, Christina.
Good.
For somebody that just wants to take high performance coaching for a test drive, I created a 5-day challenge. So what we would do is we meet Monday through Friday for 30 minutes and we go through a pillar of high performance. And that's just to see if this is something that would even interest you, but it also helps you to have some quick wins in that week.
Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. That ability to just kind of test drive it. So is that like a one-on-one or is that with the big group or how is that looking?
I've created it as a one-on-one experience because I find that the people I work with rather have work one-on-one. And so at this point it is one-on-one, but it's right on my website on the homepage where you can just join,
Awesome. Well,
register.
that sounds amazing to be able to just dip your toe in a little bit because it feels big to jump into like typically a high performance coaching is like 6 months or 3 months or what's the
Generally 12 weeks per
Mhm.
track. So there's 4 tracks. So there's the core sessions, which goes over the pillars of high performance. And then after those 12 sessions, we move into the charge sessions to live that fully charged life, so that you don't, if you're feeling a little bit caged, to just really like figure out like what is driving you, what's motivating you, and really grow through that. And then after those 12 sessions, there's the declaration sessions, which you really go through what you believe, what you're committing to, declaring, and it's so powerful. And then the fourth track is leadership. And so they're all designed for 12 sessions each. So you could literally go through them in a year if you
That's
wanted
awesome.
to.
And I love that leadership is last because it's so important to define all of these things and to get real clarity on who you are, where you need to be, what's getting in the way, and kind of clearing out some of those things that get in the way before you start leading. And obviously, most of us who have been leaders did not do that before. So you can do it while you're leading as well. But it is so, all that leadership skill set is built off of probably those first three pillars, I'm assuming.
Definitely.
Awesome. So that is so amazing. So, Stephanie, you've got your 5-day challenge. What else is exciting in your world right now?
Oh, I'm having so much fun with the Commit to High Performance Growth podcast. It's just, being able to discuss things on the podcast that I get asked quite a bit, and just sharing that. So I had a coaching session yesterday, and I was able to tell the person, could you listen to this episode as part of your homework? Because it's just some things that when you're coaching somebody, I'm not generally like sharing a lot of tips and
Mm-hmm.
tricks. It's them receiving what they want to say and work through. And so there's supplemental things that may support them
Mm-hmm.
that I can just talk about on the podcast.
And that's so awesome. I found that myself that I can like I'll supplement some things in my Thrive program and I'll say, hey, listen to this one because it gives way more detail than I had time to give during the session. Or when I'm working with a coaching client, it's like, listen here because you can get a huge education from the podcast. Just go listen. So that is awesome to be able to do. So
Yes.
beautiful. All right. And if somebody would like to work with you or get a hold of you, what is the best way to get in touch?
Okay, so my website has my where you can contact me. It's stephaniedonahue.co. And I'm also on LinkedIn at Stephanie Donahue Co. and also Instagram, stephaniedonahue.co. I also have a newsletter that you can sign up for and to just get some goodness every week. So
Awesome.
Several ways.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and sharing your gifts with us and sharing some of the ways that we can really live ourselves, like make ourselves better, work on ourselves, and just live the life that God wants us to be. So thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. This was great.
All right. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you like today's episode, please like it, subscribe, leave a review, because that is how we get the algorithm working in our benefit and sharing all of this free, wonderful knowledge. So I will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.